Hey, chain rings, they're round, right? Well, not always. And on this Tech Tuesday, we're going to be talking about non-round chain rings because turns out I am oval curious. Well, this right here in my hand is a typical mountain bike 1x chain ring. SRAM, 30 tooth, kind of you'd see on mountain bikes all around the world. It's round, see by looking at it. Well, it doesn't have to be, does it? There's been quite a few chain rings come out that are not round. They are oval. Like, well, this one for instance. This one happens to be from Garbaruk. It's a little bit bigger. It's a 38 tooth chain ring. It is oval and it is made for SRAM access because this is what I'm thinking about running on my gravel bike. And you can see by looking at it, it is very, very unround. Back to this in a minute. Let's go back to the mountain bike chainring for a second. I've been thinking about this for a while. It's kind of a process I've had going on. I've got a gearing series going on, both for my road bike and for my gravel bike. Mountain bikes, well, they're pretty sorted by now, aren't they? But I was trying to figure out the right gravel bike gearing for me, for where I live, how I use my bike, and go back and look at that series. I think it's kind of interesting. Anyway, here we are. Here we are back to this small mountain bike chainring. When you read the scientific reports of people that have tried to lab test oval chain rings, what you get is a very mixed bag of, yes, it was better, no, it really wasn't better. Most of the time it seems like the changes were very, very incremental, if even measurable. And yet, people swear by oval chain rings. Well, why is that? Honestly, I have no idea. But I think it does point out a couple of things. A laboratory is not a person riding a bicycle because there is a human-machine interface that they can't measure. In other words, I just might like it better. It might feel better to me. And really, well, what's wrong with that? So even if you can't measure it as being better, that doesn't mean that it isn't necessarily going to make your riding, well, better. And what people tend to say with the oval chain rings is it tends to be easier on their knees. I think the mountain bikers like it mostly. Well, for one thing, mountain bikes have been won by longer than road bikes and gravel bikes have been, although there are oval chain rings for road bikes, even in double chain sets. You see that in Rotor. I think Rotor is probably the most well-known for that. I've never used them, but I do know somebody that has used them. He loved them, swore by them. So back to this. So the mountain bike people seem to be the most proponents of oval chain rings, of non-round chain rings. And it seems like what they are saying typically is when things get steep, when RPMs are really, really dropping low, it helps them like climb those ledgy, tricky places better. When you're really under load, you're pedaling very slowly. They say it's easier to come over the top of the crank, etc., etc. Very interesting. And some people have said that it solves knee pain issues for them and other biomechanical issues they might be happening, that non-round or oval chain rings really help them enjoy mountain biking much better. But I'm not mountain biking. Well, I am, but in this case, this is not a mountain bike chain ring. This is going to go on my Turner Cyclosis gravel bike in place of a Garbaruk 38 tooth round chain ring. Now, to back up for a minute, I've had this for quite a while. I've been oval curious for quite a while, but I was sorting through all the gearing on my gravel bike, and I wanted to first come to a chainring cassette combination that was working for me, that I knew really, really well and had some miles in. And then, before I changed like one more thing, and you think, oh, if I don't like it, why? If it's working for me better, why? So baby steps, right? This is the next step, is to go to the oval ring. And as I said, this will go in place of the existing 38 tooth round Garbaruk that's on there, so I won't be changing tooth count, and my low gear will stay as low as it is. My high gear should stay as high as it is, at least by the numbers. Now, one of the things that spurs me on to trying this, besides the fact that I'm just curious to see how it is, I know two people who I respect. One of them has a ton of background in cycling, making bikes, racing bikes, designing bikes, loves oval chainrings, runs an oval chainring on every one of his one-by bikes, both mountain, gravel, and even on his all-road. The other guy, he's a faster rider than I am. He's worked for bike companies, been involved in the cycling industry for years. He even runs oval chain rings on his double road bike, swears by them. He uses the rotor ones. He uses the ones he can actually clock. But you know what I mean? He can actually take chainring with the rotor. It's not fixed. You can actually clock it and get different varying amounts of oval feeling when you pedal. Is that important? I don't know. He seemed to think so. In fact, he played with it, and that was actually, he really noticed a difference, which points out the next thing. It's not like one company makes this. This is a Garbaruk. There's quite a few companies that make oval chain rings. For instance, I can get one from SRAM in an oval. At least I could last I looked. I think they still do oval mountain bike chain rings. I don't think they do gravel bike ones. Maybe they do. But there's Absolute Black. There's, like I said, Rotor. There's one more. The name escapes me. Probably one of the most, Wolf Tooth does it, and I still think there's one more after that, but I can't think of who it is. Anyway, there's quite a few companies doing oval chain rings. The interesting part about them is they don't always have the same amount of ovality to them. In other words, they may be closer to round than others. And they also might put the ovalness in a slightly different place in relation to the crank, which is interesting because they think it should be more oval at a certain part of the rotation of your crank, and on and on and on. And of course, all of them have studies that back up their way of doing things as the best. We'll see. We'll see. So this is what I chose because I've really enjoyed the Garbaruk stuff. I like the chain line on this. It's a better chain line for one by. It's less acute, which I like. And I think it's, frankly, it's a lovely piece of machining. All right, so what am I looking for here? Why am I doing this, Grandy Gear? If you're happy with your round one, why even bother? I'm not having knee pain. I'm not grinding my way up steep ledges on the side of some British Columbia mountainside. So maybe oval for me, inconsequential. But I'm curious. I want to see what it's like. If I gain some smoothness in the pedal stroke when I'm climbing steep, long, rough climbs, which we do here. You know, it's quasi mountain biking. It's not full on, but it ain't easy either. And we do a lot of steep climbs. Well, maybe I'm close enough to mountain biking where I'll get something out of the oval. Will it be a detriment on the road when I'm spinning at a higher cadence? I don't know. I want to find out. I have a pretty smooth pedal stroke. I've been doing this a long time. I don't have wobbly knees. I don't have any odd biomechanical issues. I'm pretty smooth. I'm pretty steady. Although I actually have been working on pedaling better. And I'm going to do that in the Tech Tuesday video because you think by now I could know how to pedal, right? Well, I think I'm getting better. Anyway, I digress. So I'm just curious. I'm going to throw this on the Turner Cyclosis. Well, I'm not going to change anything else. And I'm going to run it. And I'm going to report back after quite a few miles and hours riding. And I'm going to see what difference did it make. Did I have to change my seat? Did I gain anything? Did I lose anything? Or really was it just different and really not necessarily better? Well, we shall see. We shall see if the egg wins or not. In the meantime, you guys have a great week and or weekend. And as always, go ride your bike, no matter what shape your chain ring is.